My construction foreman told the frustrated client, "Your poor planning caused all these cost overruns," when questioned about the $320,000 budget discrepancy on our office complex project. My name is Mitchell Foster, 42 years old, construction project manager, with 14 years of commercial development experience managing multi-million-dollar construction projects. I had built my reputation through systematic project management and comprehensive material tracking protocols that ensured on-time, on-budget completion of complex commercial developments. When Jake Morrison blamed weather delays and inadequate planning for the cost overruns during our client meeting, I simply said, "I apologize for these project management issues and will implement immediate operational improvements." What Morrison didn't realize was that my systematic approach to construction management included automated material tracking systems and comprehensive supply chain documentation that would expose his systematic theft of premium construction materials worth over $320,000. The confrontation occurred during a tense client meeting at our $1 million office complex construction site, where developer Patricia Reynolds was demanding explanations for budget overruns that had exceeded our original estimates by 15% without corresponding progress in construction completion. "Mr. Foster, your project timeline shows significant delays that weren't included in weather impact projections," Reynolds stated while reviewing our quarterly progress reports. "The material costs have escalated beyond anything justified by market conditions or design modifications." I maintained professional composure while noting Morrison's aggressive deflection of responsibility toward my project management rather than addressing specific material usage and construction progress discrepancies. "Mitchell's planning didn't account for the unusually wet spring we experienced," Morrison explained to Reynolds with practiced confidence. "The weather delays cascaded through every phase of construction, requiring additional materials and extended labor schedules." The explanation contradicted the detailed weather tracking and contingency planning I had implemented for the project, which had actually shown fewer weather delays than originally projected. "Jake, can you walk me through the specific material quantities that were affected by weather delays?" I asked while cross-referencing our material delivery logs with actual construction progress documentation. Morrison gathered his project files with visible irritation. "Mitchell, you've been focused on client relations and administrative paperwork, while I've been managing the actual construction challenges. The weather impact affected every material delivery and installation schedule." I thanked Morrison for managing on-site operations during challenging conditions and concluded the client meeting with assurances about improved project oversight and cost control measures. That evening, I began systematic review of all material delivery records, construction progress documentation, and cost tracking reports to understand the source of our budget discrepancies and timeline delays. The automated project management system I had implemented tracked every material delivery, installation milestone, and quality control checkpoint throughout the construction process. What I discovered during the first 3 hours of analysis was sufficient evidence to contact my construction litigation attorney, David Brennan, for immediate consultation about potential construction fraud and material theft. The material tracking log showed systematic discrepancies between delivered quantities and installed materials that couldn't be explained by normal construction waste or weather-related losses. "David, I need urgent consultation about systematic material theft by my construction foreman," I explained during our confidential phone call. "The documentation shows $320,000 in material discrepancies that suggest systematic fraud rather than project management issues." David had handled construction industry disputes throughout his career and immediately recognized the seriousness of systematic material diversion and fraudulent progress reporting. "Mitchell, if Morrison has been diverting construction materials while blaming cost overruns on your management, you're looking at construction fraud, theft, and potentially conspiracy charges," he explained. The evidence I was compiling showed not just material management problems, but systematic theft coordinated with suppliers and subcontractors who were facilitating Morrison's diversion of premium construction materials. Morrison had been systematically ordering materials using our project accounts, while directing deliveries to unauthorized locations where he was using them for personal construction projects. Morrison's material orders show quantities that exceed our construction requirements by 40%, I documented. His systematic over-ordering suggests planned diversion rather than poor inventory management. The supplier delivery records revealed that Morrison had been coordinating with multiple vendors to deliver materials to locations that weren't associated with our office complex project. Morrison directed $180,000 in roofing materials to a residential construction site where he was apparently working personal projects, I noted. His unauthorized material diversion constitutes systematic theft from our project budget. The construction progress reports that Morrison had been submitting showed completed work that didn't match the actual site conditions or installed materials. Morrison claimed completion of interior framing that required materials he had diverted to unauthorized projects, I documented. His fraudulent progress reporting was designed to hide systematic material theft. David reviewed my preliminary evidence and immediately recommended comprehensive documentation, preservation, and potential insurance fraud investigation. Mitchell, construction material theft often involves insurance fraud when false progress reports are used to justify budget overruns, David advised. Your systematic documentation provides comprehensive evidence for both civil and criminal investigation. Morrison's confidence about blaming project management issues was about to encounter systematic evidence and legal enforcement that would expose every aspect of his material theft scheme. Have you ever discovered that someone was systematically stealing from your business while publicly blaming you for the problems they were creating? Construction fraud often involves elaborate blame shifting designed to hide systematic theft from trusted employees. My 14-year career in construction project management had been built on the foundation of systematic material tracking and comprehensive supply chain oversight that ensured optimal resource utilization and prevented the costly overruns that plagued many commercial development projects. The reputation I had established with Foster Construction Management reflected proven expertise in managing complex commercial developments from initial design through final occupancy. I had established my construction management practice in 2010, after 8 years, with regional commercial developers, where I had specialized in cost control and material optimization for office buildings, retail centers, and industrial facilities. Mitchell's systematic approach to project management and material tracking provides cost certainty and timeline reliability that developers need for successful commercial projects, noted testimonial from longtime client Robert Martinez at Phoenix Commercial Properties. The project management methodology I had developed emphasized comprehensive documentation and real-time tracking of all materials, labor, and subcontractor activities to prevent the budget overruns and schedule delays that could destroy project profitability. Foster's systematic approach to construction oversight eliminates the waste and inefficiency that typically affects commercial development projects, explained satisfied client Jennifer Walsh at Southwest Development Corporation. The $1 million office complex project that had precipitated Morrison's theft scheme represented a typical commercial development that required careful coordination of multiple trades and suppliers over an 18-month construction timeline. Jake Morrison had joined my team 2 years earlier, when our project volume had expanded beyond my individual capacity to provide direct oversight of all construction activities. His background included 8 years as construction supervisor with regional building contractors, plus claimed expertise in material management and subcontractor coordination. Jake's field experience and supplier relationships will complement your systematic project management approach, I had reasoned when hiring Morrison as senior foreman for our larger commercial projects. Morrison brought solid technical skills and demonstrated knowledge of construction methods, though his attitudes toward documentation and material tracking had always created some tension within my systematic approach to project oversight. Mitchell, your documentation requirements slow down construction progress, Morrison had complained regularly. Experienced construction crews don't need excessive paperwork to deliver quality results. I had consistently explained that comprehensive documentation was essential for cost control and liability protection in the heavily regulated commercial construction environment. Jake, commercial developers require detailed material tracking and progress documentation for financing, insurance, and regulatory compliance, I would respond. Systematic oversight protects both our company and our clients from cost overruns and liability issues. But Morrison viewed systematic documentation as bureaucratic obstacles rather than essential protection for both contractors and clients in complex commercial construction projects. Detailed tracking requirements limit our ability to respond quickly to construction challenges and material availability issues, Morrison had argued during project planning meetings. The philosophical differences between Morrison and my approach had been manageable when I maintained direct oversight of material ordering and supplier relationships, but the volume of simultaneous projects had forced me to delegate more authority to Morrison for day-to-day construction management. The office complex project had required coordination with 12 different suppliers and 8 subcontractor specialties, creating complex material flow management that I had entrusted to Morrison's field supervision. Our material tracking systems document every delivery and installation to ensure optimal resource utilization and cost control, I had explained to Morrison during project initiation. The automated inventory management I had implemented provided real-time tracking of material deliveries, installation progress, and waste management that should have prevented significant budget discrepancies. But Morrison had apparently been exploiting his authority over material ordering and supplier coordination to systematically divert premium construction materials for personal projects while maintaining the facade of legitimate construction management. The trust I had placed in Morrison's field supervision had provided him with access to project budgets, supplier relationships, and material ordering authority that he had been systematically exploiting for personal financial gain. Morrison's material ordering authority was designed to streamline construction progress while maintaining systematic oversight, I noted. His exploitation of delegated authority constitutes breach of fiduciary duty and systematic theft. The supplier relationships that Morrison had developed on behalf of our projects had apparently been corrupted by his systematic coordination of unauthorized material deliveries to locations outside our legitimate construction sites. Morrison used our project accounts and supplier relationships to facilitate systematic material theft, I documented. His exploitation of business relationships enabled large-scale construction fraud. The client complaints about cost overruns and delays were actually symptoms of Morrison's systematic material theft, which had forced him to create elaborate explanations about weather delays and project management issues to hide his fraudulent activities. Morrison's blame shifting toward my project management was designed to deflect attention from his systematic material theft, I observed. His public criticism was calculated to prevent detailed investigation of material discrepancies. The automated project management systems I had implemented were providing comprehensive evidence that Morrison had been systematically violating every material tracking protocol while stealing premium construction materials worth over $320,000. Morrison's material theft was enabled by his exploitation of trusted authority and systematic circumvention of tracking protocols, I documented. The construction industry reputation I had built through systematic project management was being damaged by Morrison's theft scheme, which had created client dissatisfaction and financial losses that threatened future business development. Have you ever trusted someone with operational authority only to discover they were systematically exploiting that trust to steal from both you and your clients? Construction management requires verification of trusted relationships through comprehensive documentation and systematic oversight. The comprehensive audit I conducted during my first week of investigation revealed that Morrison's material theft wasn't opportunistic construction site pilferage, but a sophisticated fraud scheme involving coordination with multiple suppliers and systematic falsification of construction progress reports designed to hide hundreds of thousands of dollars in diverted premium materials. My forensic analysis of material delivery records showed that Morrison had been systematically ordering quantities that exceeded our construction requirements while coordinating delivery schedules that allowed him to divert materials to unauthorized locations before they could be tracked through our inventory management systems. Morrison's material orders consistently exceeded project specifications by 35 to 50%, I documented. His systematic overordering was designed to create excess inventory that could be diverted without affecting construction progress. The sophistication of Morrison's scheme included coordination with supplier dispatch personnel who were facilitating unauthorized delivery locations in exchange for kickbacks from Morrison's material resale activities. Morrison coordinated with Allied building supply dispatcher Robert Chen to deliver materials to unauthorized locations, I noted. His systematic supplier coordination enabled large-scale material theft through fraudulent delivery documentation. But Morrison had made critical errors that would expose his systematic fraud and provide overwhelming evidence for insurance investigation and criminal prosecution. The GPS tracking systems that suppliers used for delivery verification created independent documentation of unauthorized delivery locations that Morrison couldn't control or modify. Supplier GPS records show systematic deliveries to residential construction sites where Morrison was working personal projects, I compiled. The location data proves systematic material diversion rather than legitimate project deliveries. The construction litigation attorney David Brennan reviewed my expanded evidence compilation and immediately recognized the systematic nature of Morrison's fraud and the potential for federal criminal charges. Mitchell, Morrison's activities show classic patterns of systematic construction fraud involving multiple suppliers and interstate material diversion, David observed. The documented evidence proves deliberate theft and conspiracy rather than construction management errors. The technical methods Morrison had used to facilitate his material theft included creating false progress reports that claimed completion of work, requiring materials he had already diverted to personal projects. Morrison submitted progress reports claiming installation of roofing materials that were actually delivered to his personal construction site, I documented. His systematic falsification of construction progress was designed to hide material theft while justifying budget overruns. The client communication records revealed that Morrison had been systematically deflecting questions about material costs and construction progress to prevent detailed investigation of his fraudulent activities. Morrison consistently redirected client concerns toward weather delays and planning issues, rather than addressing specific material usage questions, I noted. His systematic deflection was designed to prevent fraud detection. Most concerning was Morrison's access to our insurance documentation and project financing information that he had been exploiting to coordinate his theft scheme with maximum financial impact. Morrison used confidential project financial information to identify optimal material theft opportunities, I documented. His systematic exploitation of trusted access enabled sophisticated fraud planning. The security camera footage from supplier facilities provided visual evidence that Morrison had been personally directing material deliveries to unauthorized locations while using our company accounts and credit arrangements. Supplier security recordings show Morrison directing delivery trucks to residential construction sites using Foster Construction authorization, I compiled. His documented theft proves systematic fraud rather than construction management mistakes. The timeline analysis revealed that Morrison's theft scheme had accelerated during the past 6 months, as he had gained increased authority over material ordering and supplier coordination. Morrison's material theft escalated when he gained exclusive authority over supplier relationships, I calculated. His systematic exploitation of delegated authority proves premeditated fraud. David recommended immediate insurance notification and comprehensive evidence preservation to prevent Morrison from destroying records or continuing theft activities. Mitchell, construction insurance policies include specific coverage for material theft and fraudulent employee activities, David explained. Your systematic documentation provides comprehensive evidence for insurance recovery. The insurance investigation would provide professional fraud examination capabilities while building criminal cases that could result in federal prosecution for systematic construction fraud. Insurance investigators have specialized expertise in construction fraud schemes, David noted. Your evidence compilation will enable rapid fraud detection and comprehensive recovery. The criminal implications were significant. Morrison's systematic theft involving multiple suppliers and interstate material diversion constituted federal conspiracy and racketeering violations that could result in decades of prison time. Morrison's documented activities violate federal anti-racketeering statutes and interstate theft laws, David explained. The systematic nature of his construction fraud supports enhanced federal penalties. The evidence preservation process required securing all digital records, supplier communications, and construction documentation before Morrison realized that his theft scheme had been discovered. We need to preserve all evidence immediately while maintaining normal project operations, David advised. Morrison cannot be allowed to destroy records or continue theft activities. The systematic documentation I had maintained throughout our construction projects was providing overwhelming evidence that would expose Morrison's theft, while ensuring comprehensive insurance recovery and criminal accountability. Your systematic approach to project documentation has created comprehensive evidence that makes Morrison's fraud impossible to deny, David observed. Morrison's confidence about blaming project management issues was about to encounter systematic evidence and insurance investigation that would expose every aspect of his material theft scheme. Have you ever discovered that comprehensive project documentation could expose systematic fraud that someone was using your trusted authority to facilitate? Sometimes, construction management systems become essential tools for detecting elaborate theft schemes disguised as operational challenges. The strategic legal and insurance response that David Brennan developed required careful coordination between fraud investigation, criminal referral, and comprehensive evidence preservation to maximize material recovery while ensuring appropriate prosecution for Morrison's systematic construction theft and conspiracy violations. Mitchell, Morrison's systematic material theft creates exposure under construction fraud statutes, insurance regulations, and federal conspiracy laws, David explained during our strategic planning session. The comprehensive evidence you've compiled supports simultaneous insurance claims and criminal prosecution that will ensure complete recovery and maximum accountability. The insurance notification strategy focused on Morrison's systematic theft and fraudulent progress, reporting that had created substantial losses, requiring immediate investigation and recovery action. Your construction insurance policy includes specific coverage for employee theft and fraudulent material diversion, David noted. Morrison's documented activities justify comprehensive insurance investigation and full recovery of stolen materials. But the most immediate priority was preventing Morrison from destroying evidence or continuing theft activities, while investigators built comprehensive cases for both insurance recovery and criminal prosecution. We need to coordinate evidence preservation with normal construction operations to prevent Morrison from realizing that his theft scheme has been exposed, David recommended. The criminal referral documentation I was preparing included comprehensive evidence of Morrison's systematic material theft, supplier coordination, and fraudulent progress, reporting that warranted federal prosecution under construction fraud and conspiracy statutes. Morrison's activities constitute multiple federal violations, including mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering, David explained. The interstate nature of his material theft creates federal jurisdiction for prosecution. Meanwhile, I was documenting additional evidence of Morrison's construction fraud while preparing comprehensive damage calculations that reflected both stolen materials and project delays caused by his systematic theft. David, Morrison's theft scheme has created cascade effects throughout our construction timeline, I noted. His material diversion forced expensive expedited deliveries and subcontractor delays that multiplied the financial impact. The technical analysis I was conducting revealed that Morrison's supplier coordination had affected multiple ongoing projects beyond the office complex where his theft was initially discovered. Morrison's systematic supplier fraud extends to at least 3 other construction projects, I documented. His material theft scheme affects over $800,000 in total project values across our current portfolio. The forensic accounting that David arranged showed that Morrison's theft had created systematic project delays that justified additional damage claims beyond simple material replacement costs. Morrison's theft forced project timeline extensions that created penalty costs and lost opportunity damages, forensic accountant Lisa Chen calculated. The total impact exceeds $450,000 when cascade effects are included. The insurance investigation that began within 48 hours of our notification included comprehensive examination of Morrison's supplier relationships and material diversion activities by experienced construction fraud specialists. Insurance investigators have identified systematic material theft patterns that extend beyond your initial discovery, lead investigator Robert Martinez reported. Morrison's fraud scheme involves coordination with multiple suppliers and systematic falsification of delivery documentation. The supplier cooperation was providing additional evidence that Morrison had been systematically corrupting delivery personnel and dispatch coordinators to facilitate unauthorized material diversions. Morrison coordinated with Allied Building Supply dispatcher Robert Chen and Westside Materials supervisor Patricia Davis to facilitate systematic theft, investigator Martinez noted. His conspiracy network enabled large-scale material diversion across multiple suppliers. But Morrison's most serious error was systematically falsifying federal tax documentation and workers' compensation filings to hide the true scope of his material theft and personal construction activities. Morrison's fraudulent tax filings and insurance documentation create federal criminal exposure beyond simple theft charges, David observed. His systematic falsification of government documents supports enhanced federal penalties. The FBI involvement was triggered when insurance investigators discovered that Morrison's material theft scheme included interstate transportation of stolen goods and systematic falsification of federal construction compliance documentation. Morrison's material theft crossed state boundaries through his personal construction projects, FBI investigator Jennifer Walsh explained. His interstate conspiracy activities create federal racketeering liability. The federal investigation was revealing that Morrison's construction fraud was part of a broader criminal enterprise involving multiple contractors and suppliers who had been systematically stealing materials from commercial construction projects. Morrison's fraud scheme connects to a regional construction theft ring that has been operating across 4 states, Walsh reported. Your evidence provided the foundation for exposing systematic construction industry fraud. The comprehensive evidence compilation was supporting federal charges that could result in 20 to 30 years in prison, plus complete restitution of stolen materials and enhanced penalties for conspiracy violations. Morrison's documented activities support federal racketeering charges that carry substantial mandatory minimum sentences, federal prosecutor Sarah Wilson explained. The coordination between insurance recovery and criminal prosecution was ensuring that Morrison's theft would result in both complete victim compensation and appropriate criminal accountability. Insurance recovery provides immediate financial relief, while federal prosecution ensures long-term consequences that prevent Morrison from exploiting other construction relationships, David noted. Morrison's systematic material theft was about to encounter coordinated insurance investigation and federal prosecution that would expose the full scope of his criminal enterprise while ensuring comprehensive recovery and accountability. Have you ever required coordination between insurance investigation and federal prosecution to address systematic construction fraud affecting multiple victims? Sometimes comprehensive evidence compilation enables both immediate recovery and long-term criminal accountability for sophisticated theft schemes. The coordinated insurance investigation and federal prosecution that began executing 6 weeks after my initial fraud report created immediate disruption to Morrison's theft operations while exposing the systematic nature of his construction fraud to law enforcement agencies, insurance investigators, and industry colleagues who had been unaware of his material diversion schemes. The on-site arrest of Morrison occurred during a routine construction meeting when FBI agents and insurance investigators presented comprehensive evidence of his systematic material theft and conspiracy violations that had been building for months. Jake Morrison, you're under arrest for construction fraud, conspiracy, theft, and violations of federal racketeering statutes, FBI agent Jennifer Walsh announced, as Morrison was reviewing daily construction schedules with our project team. Morrison's immediate reaction was denial and confusion about the scope of the federal investigation that had been building comprehensive evidence of his systematic theft and supplier coordination activities. "This is obviously some kind of mistake," Morrison stammered, while being read his Miranda rights. "I've been managing construction operations according to standard industry practices." But Agent Walsh presented evidence summaries that immediately revealed the comprehensive nature of the case against Morrison and his criminal conspiracy network. "Mr. Morrison, we have documented evidence of $320,000 in systematic material theft, fraudulent supplier coordination, and interstate transportation of stolen construction materials," Walsh stated. The federal charges that Morrison faced included construction fraud, mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering violations that carried potential sentences exceeding 20 years in federal prison. Each fraudulent material order and false progress report constitutes a separate federal crime, federal prosecutor Sarah Wilson explained. Morrison faces potential charges on over 150 individual fraud violations. The supplier coordination evidence was particularly damaging, showing that Morrison had been systematically corrupting delivery personnel and dispatch coordinators to facilitate material theft across multiple construction projects. Morrison coordinated with Allied Building Supply dispatcher Robert Chen and Westside Materials supervisor Patricia Davis to systematically steal materials from commercial construction sites, investigator Martinez reported. The conspiracy charges reflected Morrison's coordination with multiple suppliers and contractors who had assisted in systematic material theft and fraudulent documentation that enabled large-scale construction fraud. Morrison's criminal enterprise included systematic coordination with suppliers, dispatchers, and subcontractors, prosecutor Wilson noted. The conspiracy aspects create enhanced federal liability for all participants. But the most damaging evidence was Morrison's systematic falsification of construction progress reports and insurance documentation that had been designed to hide material theft while justifying budget overruns. Morrison's fraudulent progress reports claimed completion of work that required materials he had stolen for personal projects. I testified during the federal investigation. His systematic deception was designed to prevent fraud detection while shifting blame to project management. The insurance investigation had identified additional victims beyond our construction projects, revealing that Morrison's theft scheme had affected multiple contractors and developers throughout the regional construction industry. Morrison's material theft scheme affected at least 12 different construction projects across 3 states, insurance investigator Martinez reported. The total fraud exceeds $800,000 in stolen materials and false insurance claims. Morrison's attempts to hire experienced federal defense attorneys were complicated by asset freezing orders that had secured his personal property and bank accounts pending restitution calculations. Morrison's assets have been frozen to ensure availability for victim restitution, asset recovery specialist Linda Thompson noted. His personal residence, vehicles, and bank accounts are secured pending criminal resolution. The court appointed federal public defenders to represent Morrison, but their initial case review revealed evidence so overwhelming that plea negotiations became their immediate strategy. The federal evidence against Morrison eliminates any possibility of successful defense at trial, Public Defender Michael Torres stated. Our focus must be on cooperation and minimizing criminal exposure through complete restitution. But Morrison's emotional breakdown during federal interrogation revealed the psychological pressure of systematic fraud and his recognition that the criminal enterprise would result in decades of imprisonment. Morrison broke down completely when federal agents presented comprehensive evidence of his material theft and supplier coordination, Agent Walsh reported. His confession included details about the broader construction fraud network. The cooperation provided federal investigators with evidence about additional construction fraud schemes affecting the regional industry, while identifying other contractors and suppliers who had participated in systematic material theft. Morrison's cooperation has exposed systematic construction fraud affecting dozens of projects and millions of dollars in stolen materials, Prosecutor Wilson noted. The asset recovery process was identifying material theft proceeds that Morrison had used for personal construction projects and luxury purchases during his systematic fraud activities. Morrison's personal assets include construction equipment, vehicles, and real estate that were acquired using stolen materials, Thompson calculated. But the most meaningful outcome for my business was comprehensive validation of systematic project management and documentation methods that had exposed Morrison's fraud while protecting client interests. Mitchell's systematic documentation and fraud reporting prevented additional theft while ensuring comprehensive recovery, insurance investigator Martinez noted. The professional reputation enhancement that resulted from ethical fraud reporting was attracting new clients who valued proven integrity and systematic construction oversight. We chose Foster Construction specifically because Mitchell's handling of Morrison's fraud demonstrated commitment to client protection and project integrity, noted new client testimonial from commercial developer Robert Kim. Morrison's systematic construction fraud was about to result in comprehensive federal accountability while validating ethical project management and systematic documentation as essential protection against construction industry theft. Have you ever seen systematic construction fraud completely exposed through coordinated insurance investigation and federal prosecution? Sometimes comprehensive documentation and ethical reporting create industry-wide protection while ensuring appropriate criminal accountability for sophisticated theft schemes. The comprehensive resolution of Morrison's construction fraud case occurred within 10 months of my initial insurance report, delivering complete material recovery, enhanced professional reputation, and federal criminal accountability that exceeded initial expectations, while establishing industry standards for preventing systematic construction theft through comprehensive project management documentation. Morrison's guilty plea on all federal charges included systematic construction fraud, conspiracy, racketeering, and mail fraud violations that resulted in a 12-year federal prison sentence, plus complete restitution of stolen materials and enhanced penalties for conspiracy coordination. Mr. Morrison's systematic construction fraud represents a serious violation of industry trust and federal law, Federal Judge Patricia Stevens stated during sentencing. His exploitation of trusted construction relationships to steal materials and defraud clients warrants maximum punishment under federal construction fraud guidelines. The criminal conviction required Morrison to forfeit all personal assets, including his residence, construction equipment, and vehicles that had been acquired using proceeds from systematic material theft. Morrison's asset forfeiture ensures complete victim restitution plus enhanced penalties that reflect the systematic nature of his construction fraud, asset recovery specialist Thompson reported. The comprehensive recovery exceeds original theft amounts due to enhanced federal penalties. But beyond financial recovery, Morrison's prosecution created industry recognition of systematic project documentation as essential protection against construction fraud and material theft schemes. Foster's comprehensive project management documentation provided the evidentiary foundation for the most successful construction fraud prosecution in federal court history, Construction Industry Association President David Martinez noted. His systematic approach to project oversight should be adopted by construction managers nationwide. The professional opportunities that resulted from my ethical handling of Morrison's fraud exceeded anything our original business relationship could have provided. Foster Construction Solutions, the expanded firm I established using insurance recovery and enhanced reputation, was attracting clients who valued proven integrity and systematic project oversight that prevented construction fraud and material theft. Mitchell's exposure of systematic construction fraud demonstrates exactly the kind of project management integrity we need for complex commercial developments, noted client testimonial from Phoenix Commercial Properties CEO Jennifer Adams. The construction management practice was generating annual revenue of $580,000 while providing professional satisfaction that focused on advanced project oversight rather than fraud prevention and criminal investigation. Independent construction management with systematic documentation protocols allows complete control over project integrity and client protection, I reflected during industry presentations. The former clients who expanded their relationships with Foster Construction Solutions represented validation that my project management expertise and ethical standards created more value than Morrison's cost-cutting schemes and fraudulent material management. Mitchell's systematic approach to construction oversight and ethical business practices provide security and reliability that justify premium project management fees, explained client retention metrics, showing 92% of major construction relationships continuing through expanded service agreements. The speaking opportunities at construction management conferences and fraud prevention seminars were generating additional revenue while establishing my reputation as an expert in construction fraud detection and systematic project documentation. Foster's experience demonstrates how comprehensive project management systems can expose and prevent systematic construction fraud, observed conference organizer Robert Wilson. The Construction Industry Association had implemented enhanced oversight recommendations based on Morrison's fraud case, creating industry standards for preventing systematic material theft in commercial construction projects. Foster's documentation protocols have become model practices for construction managers seeking to prevent material theft and ensure project integrity, Association Compliance Director Lisa Chen noted. Morrison's complete professional destruction served as industry-wide warning about the consequences of systematic construction fraud and the importance of ethical material management practices. The Morrison prosecution sends clear messages throughout the construction industry about federal enforcement capabilities for material theft and fraudulent project management, legal analyst Patricia Newman observed. But the most meaningful outcome was validation of systematic project management and comprehensive documentation as reliable protection against construction fraud during complex commercial development projects. Morrison's prosecution proves that systematic project documentation and ethical construction management create sustainable competitive advantages, I observed during ethics workshops. The construction industry recognition I received for fraud exposure and systematic legal response had generated consultation opportunities and strategic partnerships that exceeded the financial benefits of traditional project management arrangements. Foster's ethical handling of construction fraud demonstrates project management integrity that attracts both clients and industry collaboration opportunities, industry consultant Sarah Davis noted. The fraud-resistant project management systems I had developed using recovery proceeds were providing additional service offerings and professional recognition that reflected enhanced business capabilities. Foster Construction Solutions' systematic approach to fraud prevention and project oversight provides comprehensive construction management that exceeds traditional project supervision offerings, client testimonials showed. The comprehensive legal victory had demonstrated that systematic project documentation and ethical construction management provided more reliable business protection than informal working relationships based on convenience rather than verified integrity. Professional competence in systematic documentation creates business security that transcends individual project relationships, I noted during construction management seminars. Morrison's systematic material theft during our commercial construction projects had inadvertently created opportunities for enhanced business independence, professional recognition, and meaningful construction relationships that exceeded anything our original working arrangement could have achieved. Sometimes the most systematic business betrayal creates catalysts for independent success and enhanced ethical standards, I reflected during professional development workshops. The documentation methods that had exposed Morrison's construction fraud were being adopted by construction management firms while generating ongoing consultation revenue and industry leadership recognition. Foster's project protection protocols provide comprehensive security against construction fraud while supporting legitimate commercial development operations, noted licensing agreement with State Construction Association. Morrison's attempt to steal construction materials while blaming project management failures had ultimately created opportunities for enhanced business independence, professional leadership, and meaningful construction operations that exceeded anything traditional employment relationships could have provided. Have you ever discovered that systematic documentation and ethical construction management could transform attempted material theft into opportunities for enhanced professional success and industry recognition. Sometimes, comprehensive project protection becomes the foundation for business independence that exceeds traditional construction management benefits. Standing in the expanded Foster Construction Solutions headquarters, 18 months after Morrison's conviction and imprisonment, I reflected on how his systematic material theft and fraudulent blame-shifting had inadvertently transformed my career from project management to industry leadership in construction fraud prevention and comprehensive project oversight. The construction management firm had grown to generate $720,000 in annual revenue, while serving clients who valued proven integrity and systematic project documentation above traditional construction management approaches. The 4,800 square foot facility accommodated advanced project management technology and comprehensive client consultation services that supported both routine commercial construction oversight and specialized fraud prevention consulting that had become my business specialty. Working with a construction manager who prioritizes systematic documentation and ethical project oversight provides security and confidence that eliminates concerns about material theft and fraudulent billing, noted Senior Project Coordinator Patricia Lynch. The construction management practice I had established was generating substantially higher income than my original business model, while providing professional satisfaction that focused on advanced project oversight and client protection rather than fraud investigation and criminal prosecution coordination. Foster Construction Solutions' systematic approach to project management and ethical construction oversight provides comprehensive protection that exceeds traditional construction supervision standards, client testimonial from commercial developer Michael Torres noted. The business expansion that had resulted from Morrison's prosecution, combined with industry recognition for fraud prevention expertise, had created professional opportunities that exceeded anything achievable through traditional construction management arrangements. Mitchell's transformation from fraud victim to industry ethics leader demonstrates how systematic integrity and comprehensive documentation create lasting competitive advantages, Construction Business Management Quarterly observed. But the most significant achievement was industry recognition that established me as the definitive expert in construction fraud prevention and systematic project documentation for commercial development projects. Foster's experience provides unique insights into preventing and detecting construction fraud that threatens both project integrity and industry reputation, Construction Ethics Review noted. The National Construction Association had requested my participation in developing enhanced project oversight standards and fraud prevention protocols that would protect commercial construction projects from systematic material theft and contractor exploitation. Foster's documentation methods and fraud detection expertise provide essential guidance for strengthening construction industry oversight, Association Ethics Committee Chair David Martinez explained. Annual speaking engagements at construction conferences, project management seminars, and professional ethics workshops were generating supplemental income of $115,000 while reinforcing my expertise in systematic documentation and ethical construction management. Foster's systematic approach to project documentation and fraud prevention has become the industry standard for commercial construction management, Southwest Construction Alliance President Jennifer Adams observed. Morrison's 12-year federal prison sentence had concluded with complete asset forfeiture, permanent exclusion from construction industry employment, and ongoing restitution obligations that would continue throughout his incarceration period. Morrison's systematic construction fraud resulted in the most comprehensive project theft prosecution in federal court history, Prosecutor Wilson noted. His case demonstrates that material theft and fraudulent project management carry severe criminal consequences that cannot be avoided through sophisticated coordination schemes. But Morrison's prosecution had also created enhanced protection for construction industry integrity by establishing legal precedents that strengthened fraud enforcement and professional oversight capabilities. The Morrison prosecution clarified federal enforcement capabilities for systematic construction fraud and established deterrent effects throughout the commercial construction industry, legal analyst Robert Kim observed. The project management methodologies I had developed and refined through Morrison's fraud exposure were generating licensing revenue from construction firms who needed proven fraud prevention frameworks while ensuring proper implementation and ethical oversight. Foster's project protection protocols provide comprehensive security against construction fraud while supporting legitimate commercial development operations and optimal client service, noted licensing agreement with Regional Construction Management Network. The professional reputation I had built through ethical crisis management was attracting strategic consultation opportunities with major construction organizations who valued demonstrated integrity and systematic fraud prevention expertise. Foster Construction Solutions' proven ethical standards and comprehensive documentation capabilities make them ideal consultants for complex project protection initiatives and fraud prevention programs, explained consulting agreement with Denver-based Construction Consortium. Looking back on Morrison's systematic betrayal and attempted material theft disguised as project management criticism, I realized that his sophisticated construction fraud had inadvertently created opportunities for professional growth, industry leadership, and business success that exceeded anything traditional construction management could have provided. Sometimes the most comprehensive construction fraud becomes the catalyst for professional development and industry recognition that transforms entire career trajectories, I observed during construction leadership conferences. The systematic documentation that had exposed Morrison's material theft was serving as the foundation for expanded consultation services that helped other construction professionals prevent fraud while maintaining ethical project management standards. Morrison's theft scheme validated the commercial value of systematic project protection while creating legal precedents that enhanced industry-wide fraud prevention. I noted during professional development workshops, the comprehensive legal victory had demonstrated that systematic documentation and ethical construction management provided more reliable business security than working relationships based on convenience rather than verified professional standards. Professional competence in systematic project protection and ethical construction management creates sustainable competitive advantages that transcend individual project relationships or contractor arrangements, I explained during ethics presentations. Morrison's attempt to steal construction materials while publicly criticizing my project management had ultimately strengthened my professional position while creating consultation opportunities and industry recognition that established Foster Construction Solutions as Colorado's leading advocate for ethical construction management and comprehensive project documentation. The people who attempt to exploit construction projects through systematic material theft while blaming project managers sometimes end up creating opportunities for their victims to achieve greater success through validated expertise and comprehensive ethical standards, I reflected during industry leadership seminars. The experience had proven that professional competence in systematic documentation and ethical construction management could transform attempted material theft into enhanced business success and industry authority that exceeded original project management compensation arrangements. Morrison's systematic construction fraud had inadvertently provided the foundation for building industry leadership, professional recognition, and business expansion that represented the most successful and meaningful period in my 14-year construction management career. Professional relationships built on systematic integrity and ethical standards prove more durable and valuable than working arrangements based on convenient delegation or trust relationships that can be compromised through fraudulent activities. The construction management firm that had emerged from Morrison's attempted material theft was generating higher revenue, enhanced industry recognition, and more meaningful client relationships than anything traditional project management arrangements could have achieved. Have you discovered that systematic documentation and ethical construction management can transform attempted material theft into opportunities for professional growth and industry leadership? Sometimes the most sophisticated construction fraud becomes the foundation for building enhanced competitive advantages through validated integrity and comprehensive project excellence. If this story of systematic documentation and construction ethics resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button to Revenge Tales with Luke. Share your experiences with construction fraud and project management protection in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who's facing similar challenges with systematic material theft and contractor exploitation. See you in our next story.